All right, so you ready to unpack some history?
Always up for a good deep dive? What do we have today?
Well, today's subject is someone I'm sure you've heard of, but maybe not really know. It's Mahatma Gandhi.
Ah, Gandhi.
Uh,
I'm intrigued already. Everyone has that kind of like surface level image of him, right?
exactly. And we're going to try to get past that, yeah.
Yeah.
Past the spectacles and the whole peaceful protest image. Like, what's the real story, right?
Right. And it's fascinating you mentioned the name Mahatma, because that wasn't his given name. It was more of a title given to him later in life.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It makes you think like how much of the Mahatma image was, well, was it something he cultivated or was it like, thrust upon him?
That's a good question. I mean, we do tend to simplify historical figures, don't we?
Well, it's
Gandhi was a real person with flaws and contradictions and a life story that, well, it wasn't simple.
Oh, not simple at all. And speaking of his story, his journey, it starts in India, but it takes a pretty big turn early on, doesn't it?
Yeah, what was it? He went to,
England to study law.
England. Wow, that's not exactly next door.
Not at all. And we're not just talking about any England. We're talking Victorian era England, a world away from his upbringing in it. Oh, absolutely. It really gives you a glimpse into the man behind the movement.
Okay, so England, huge influence, but then things get, well, they take another big turn, right?
They do, because from England, Gandhi ends up in South Africa working as a lawyer.
Mm.
And it's there that he experiences firsthand, I mean, a direct and brutal discrimination.
Wow. And this is where that concept of satyagraha comes in, right? The, what is it often called? Passive resistance?
It's often simplified as passive resistance, but satyagraha is so much more than that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's about truth force, about confronting injustice, but through non-violent means.
Okay, so it's not about being passive. It's about choosing a different way to fight.
Exactly, and he put it into practice, boycotts, strikes, refusing to cooperate with laws he saw as unjust.
That takes guts.
For sure.
Hmm.
But it wasn't just him. He inspired countless others to do the same.
It's incredible when you think about the ripple effect of his life. Like, here we are all these years later, still talking about him, still grappling with these same ideas of injustice and how to fight for what's right.
Absolutely. And we see echoes of satyagraha in modern movements too, like Black Lives Matter or the climate change protests, that focus on nonviolent action, on raising awareness, on pushing for change. Yeah. It's all connected.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
It's all connected, yeah. But of course, no one's life is just a straight line from point A to point B, right?
Right. So let's talk about some of the, some of the more difficult aspects of his legacy,
Okay.
like his views on the caste system, for example. That's something that's been debated a lot.
It has. And for good reason. Gandhi's views on caste were complex, even contradictory at times.
So he wasn't always on the right side of history, so to speak.
It's complicated, right? Because he did challenge the caste system, but not everyone agreed with his approach. And even within his own movement, there were those who wanted him to go further, to be more radical.
It's like that saying, never meet your heroes, except in this case, it's more like, remember that your heroes are human.
Exactly. Gandhi was a product of his time, just like we all are. He had his blind spots, his contradictions. But I think that's important to acknowledge.
It makes him more real, more relatable in a way.
Yeah, I think so. He wasn't this untouchable icon. He was a man who struggled, who questions, who made mistakes.
And despite all of that, his message, his philosophy, it's still so powerful, so influential.
It really is. Think about it. From the civil rights movement to the end of apartheid, his ideas about nonviolent resistance have had a global impact.
It's incredible. So I guess the question is, can those ideas, can satyagraha, still work today?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can we take those principles of truth, of nonviolence, of unwavering conviction, and apply them to the problems we face today?
That's something to think about, isn't it?
It is. It's the work we're all tasked with, I think. Figuring out how to carry that torch forward, how to make the world a more just and equitable place.
Well said. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Time flies when you're unpacking history.
It really does. Thanks for joining us today, everyone, and we'll see you next time for